If you've been looking into buy a home, or if you're just wondering if you should purchase a home, or if you are a first time home buyer, you're just trying to figure out if this market is actually a good market for you to purchase a home, you really might want to listen to this. You might want to pay attention to this one, this video, and what I'm about to say, because it's really going to be important for you to know this. And I want to tell you something, and I need you to keep this in mind. Just because you can make a payment towards something doesn't necessarily means you can afford it. I need you to keep this in mind, because further down this video, I'm going to explain to you exactly why I'm saying this, and so that we can all be on the same page. So without further ado, let's just dive right into it. Don't forget to smash that like button. All right, so I'm just gonna jump. One thing that we all know, you already know by now, that the Federal Reserve has already increased interest rate by a 75 basis point, which is much higher, than what we had initially anticipated back in June, July, and everything else. But the forecast, or the way it's looking now, it's actually gonna be much higher than what was previously reported. And we are projecting that by the end of this year, this is the Federal Reserve interest rate, it's going to be somewhere between 4% to 4.5%, which, if you want to translate into the actual market that we have, like mortgage and everything else, is actually going to be higher. And as of right now, there's only 2 more meetings for the Fed for this year to happen before we actually see it to get to there. And so we're actually anticipating another 1.25% increase, which means, since there's only 2 meetings, it's probably, since Jerome Powell said they might be just as aggressive as they've been in the last 3 meetings, it means we might actually see another 75 basis points, and then on top of that, another 50 basis points by the end of this year. I know you already know this information, but I need to tell you this because I want you to see exactly why this translates, especially in the home buying or the mortgage, or let's just say in the housing market in general. So I'm going to show you this. Let's just get right into it. This is what Jerome Powell said when he was asked a little bit ago about what he thinks, what was his opinion basically on the housing market. And this is what he said. I would say, if you are a home buyer, somebody or a young person looking to buy a home, you need a bit of a reset. We need to get back to a place where supply and demand are back together, and where inflation is down low again and mortgage rates are low again. This is a very, very powerful statement. This literally means that it is too expensive for you, or for someone who's trying to get into this housing market, because technically it does not make sense. The prices and the mortgage, or at least the rates and interest that we're seeing right now, because what the Fed is trying to do, they're trying to control inflation. Obviously, they cannot really control inflation, but they're trying to use the tools to try and push down, or at least have mortgage or interest, or inflation, should I say, back to the lower levels again. And their target is about 2%, and they're trying to see it somewhere around 2025. That's literally 3 years, or should I say 2.5 years from now. But now, something really important that we need to mention here is the fact that if you go back right here, if I want to show you one thing that he said, I wish there were painless way to do that. But there isn't a painless way to do that. What they're trying to do, and literally with what the Fed is trying to do right now, they're literally trying to tackle the actual housing market. They're trying to push it into a correction territory. Literally, if you watch what he said yesterday, if you watch what he talked about, they're trying to find ways to push the market into a correction territory, because like I said, we need a bit of a reset, and to be able to do that, you need to have a correction, and a correction in the market means 20% at least to be able to get there. And so home prices will be at a level where it's actually affordable again to normal average people like you and me. So we're putting that into perspective. If a $500,000 home to have a reset, a 20% correction would be at least 400,000 to be considered affordable. Again, that's crazy. That's crazy right there. But to move on, with the interest rate that they've just increased, because right now most mortgage rate, or at least should I say, the average is somewhere around 6% and above. But with this increase that they've just done, we're going to be seeing, as you can see, the rates are average rates with a really good, should I say, good credit score above 700, and a loan amount of like $500,000 and a 20% down payment. A 30-year fixed loan is going to be looking close to 7%. It's almost unimaginable. It's 7%. I know for a lot of people will be like, well, what does this really mean? Because I don't get it. I want to show you a really good example. And I'm going to show you based on where I live. But you can look at all over the country or whatever you are, and you can compare, and you will see that it won't really make sense. You can try it anywhere. So I'm using realtor.com here, and I'm looking at a home in Salt Lake City area, right? And you can check it in your own town, whatever you are. A $500,000 home, or 525, put it on average, right? A 4-bedroom, 2-bath in Salt Lake City. With, if I were to come down here, with what I'm looking at, with the 7% interest rate and a 30-year fixed year loan, you're looking at $3,559 in monthly payment. That's a lot, right? But most people might say, well, I think I could be able to afford it, or at least not afford it, I can be able to pay it. Well, let's see if it's really something that's affordable to you, because when you're looking at these numbers, because most houses, when I look them around these prices, most people would say, well, I think I can afford it, or I think I can be able to pay for it. I think, right, but here I want to show you, based on these numbers that we're looking at, if it's something, that you can really, truly afford. So let's just get down right into it. Normally, rent prices are supposed to be higher than a mortgage. You're supposed to be paying less for your mortgage than you're paying for your rent. But like I said, if this home in Salt Lake City, the same area, 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom, right? I'm gonna show you another home for rent around the same size, pretty much in the same area, Salt Lake City, 4-bedroom, 2-bath, and I'll tell you exactly how much they're asking for rent. Are you ready? Here we go. Boom. $2,295. The difference is like $1,300. That right there is insane. It is much cheaper to actually rent a home than to purchase one and pay your mortgage. And get this, because maybe a lot of you didn't see this, with a 20% down payment right here, which means to be able to pay this amount every single month for 30 years on a $525,000 loan or mortgage, with $100,000 in down payment, because that's the down payment is 20%, which most people on average cannot really come up with this money or afford even having this money in down payment. Even though you put in down payment of $105,000, this is how much you're still going to be paying every single month. But if you wanted to rent, this is how much money you'll be paying. The discrepancy here is enormous, right? But let's just pretend you still want to buy a home, you still want to get into it, and you think, yeah, I think I can make this payment, because that's usually what it comes down to. So let's say somebody said, hey, I'm making like $6,500 every single month, which translates to about $78,000 a year, roughly. Like, well, $6,500, maybe I should be able to pay this much, and I'll have about $3,000 left, and then I think I should be good. And this is assuming you don't have no car loans, you don't have no student loans, nothing. Assuming you got nothing. You only have your mortgage. And you're thinking, well, I should be fine. A little bit of bills here and there. It should be good. That's usually how people see it. But what you don't know is, normally, your mortgage payment should be 36, the debt to income, basically, 36% pre-tax, before tax, 36%. So let's get to that. Now, can you really afford this home? I'm going to take you back to this. The home affordability calculator. Let's find out. So, roughly, I'm going to choose, if you were to make $100,000, trying to look at the same amount. You see, let's say you're making $100,000 a year, 100K. Some people do make that kind of money. Some people don't. But on average, most people don't. So if you already find yourself below this, I'm going to show you that. If you make $100,000 a year, down payment $105,000. I'm pretty much copying exactly what we saw in this home that I was showing you here, right? $100,000, like 20% down, right? You have no monthly debt, no, like I said, no student loans, no car payments, no nothing, right? That's assuming. Most people do, but we're just assuming you don't, right? You got a good credit score, average, nice, above 700 or somewhere around, good. With the interest rate that we're looking at, that's projected, the one that I just showed you guys over here, actually, I believe right here, right there, right? All right, let's keep going. The 30-year. This is what you're looking at. Remember, 3,557, basically pretty much the same, right? Close, right? There you go. But now, if you look, I want to make it bigger. A home price of $522,000, which is slightly lower because $525 I was showing you, but still it's around the same price. At $522,000, this is what our calculator says, and this is into it, right? It is not affordable for you. For somebody who's making $100,000 a year, for somebody who's making $100,000 a year, a $522,000 home, it is not affordable for you. This is what the banks, this is literally what the bank says, right? So let's find out, if you're making $100,000, right? How much of a home can you really afford at these interest rates of 7%, where we're going? Because this is where we're going, right? So let's start going back. Still not. Let's go down to $495. It's still not affordable. Keep going down. No, 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 boom. And look, a debt to income of 36%, $455,000 on $100,000 a year. This is how much you can afford. And this is stretching it. Like, we're literally like right there, because if I go 1% more at 37% is not affordable. So I'm literally stretching it. At the $455,000 home is literally where you should be. Like the border, the edge of where you can actually afford. And now, as you can see, your monthly payment translates to $3,000 instead. That's a $500 less. So it's insane to be able to see that, or to think that if you got a $500,000 home and you're making $100,000 a year, you can't afford it right now. The bank says you cannot. And so now, if you've been wondering if you make 100, or if you even make less, because I know most people, on average in the US, it's less than $100,000. It's about 68 somewhere around. So you already know that if somebody who makes more than me cannot afford a $500,000 home, that means you cannot. You totally cannot. So now, let's find out, how much can you really be able to? So let's say we go down, like I was giving you an example. Say somebody was making $6,500 every single month. We translate into $78,000, and then we put that down here, and boom, right? At 36%, this is what you can afford. with the same amount of down payment, this is how much you can afford. A $374,000 home. Literally. So that is crazy. That's insane. And so now, even though you might think, well, that's okay, because that's why most people say, hey, that's okay, because at the end of the day, even if the homes comes down now, it's still gonna go back up later. I will try and do my best, maybe in the first 3 years, and just make some of the payments, and I'll still pay. Yeah, I mean, obviously, if you're making, let's say, $6,500, like I was saying, and you gotta pay $3,500 every single month on your mortgage, the payment you can make it because you're making more than that, right? You can make the payment, but it doesn't mean you actually can afford it. That's bad, but you can still make that payment, thinking I still have a little bit of money, a little bit of room, because I don't have any other debt, quote unquote, don't have any other debt, and so I can be able to do this. But one thing that you don't know is, you literally at the age where, as long as nothing changes in your life, you're probably going to be kind of okay. But once one variable changes in your life, like a car loan, because most of I can still have like a $500 car loan a month, okay? Or if you got something else, whatever that could be, one variable changes in your life, you are completely in deep water. Why? Here's the reason. Right now, unemployment rate is at 3.7%, right? Good. But because the Fed are raising interest rates, they know that they are making it so difficult for normal companies to be able, not just businesses and anyone else, to be able to borrow money. And most companies, they actually rely in not borrowing the money to be able to, for the growth, for everything. And if they can't do that, they have to stop the spending because they don't want to borrow to pay too much. They have to stop the spending, which means they have to cut down, they have to lay off more people. So for the fact to be able to do this, they're actually projecting to actually have unemployment up to 4.4%. That's where they see it. They want unemployment rate to actually go up because of what they're doing, to be somewhere around 4.4% from where it is right now. But guess what? They're not always on point with everything. It's not always perfect. So in our experience, or at least in my experience, when they say 4.4%, we should expect it to be at least a 5%. And so if you are working, I don't know where you might be working for, it is possible that you might actually be able to lose that job. And if you do, and you already put yourself in this situation here, that is bad. That is big time bad. This is what I wanted to show what this translates. I'm not trying to give fear or anything. I just want to show you what's the fact and the reality, because most people, there's so many technical terms, but I want to say in the simplest terms possible for anyone to be able to understand what they're actually going through and what they're living. This is it. This is the reality of the market. And so do your due diligence, do some research, look into it. Again, at the end of the day, it's a choice, right? To me, I may think it's a bad deal. And it's my hand bad because you don't know what could happen, what variable will change in your life, which is why I said, just because you can make a payment doesn't necessarily mean you can afford it. But hey, somebody might decide, I think I can do it. But I just wanted to open your eyes to what's truly going on in the simplest term possible, nothing technical. Because when they talk about these things, most of the time they're trying to be a little bit politically correct when they're using their words carefully. So anyway, keeping this video short, thank you guys, not that short, but that's okay. Thank you guys for watching this video. As for me, as always, I'll see you in my next video. Bye-bye.